My name is Marilyn, and today I'm turning 29. Little did I know that a work trip would change my life forever. As the head of the marketing department, I joined my company's team-building trip with excitement and a bit of nervousness. The event was packed with activities designed to help us bond, including a spirited game of volleyball. During the game, I jumped to spike the ball, but landed awkwardly, twisting my ankle. Pain shot through my leg, and I fell to the ground, unable to move. Before I could fully grasp what had happened, a man rushed over to help me. He was tall, with kind eyes, and a reassuring presence. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. "I think I sprained my ankle." I winced, trying to stand but failing. "Don't move. Let me help you," he said, gently lifting me up. "I'm Bruce, by the way." "Marilyn," I replied, holding on to him for support as he carried me to the infirmary. As he carried me, I couldn't help but notice how strong and kind he seemed. At the infirmary, the nurse wrapped my ankle and advised me to rest. Bruce stayed by my side the entire time, making sure I was comfortable. "Thank you so much, Bruce. You really didn't have to do all this," I said, feeling grateful. "It's no problem at all," he smiled. "I'm just glad you're okay. How about we grab a coffee sometime when you're feeling better?" I agreed, feeling a flutter of excitement. Back at work, I found myself thinking about Bruce more often than I cared to admit. Gathering my courage, I asked him out for coffee. To my relief, he agreed, and we met at our local cafe. "So, how's your ankle?" Bruce asked as we settled into our seats. "It's getting better, thanks to your help," I smiled. "I really appreciate it." Our conversation flowed easily as we talked about our lives, interests, and families. I learned that Bruce was the head of the IT department, and despite working in the same company, our paths had never crossed before. "What do you like to do in your free time?" I asked, genuinely curious. "I'm really into sports, especially basketball and football," Bruce replied. "What about you?" "Me too. I love watching football, and I play tennis whenever I can," I said, excited to find common ground. "Do you have a favorite team?" "Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the local team," he grinned. "It's great to meet someone who shares my interests." As we continued talking, we discovered even more common interests. We both enjoyed the same TV shows and had similar hobbies, but one detail stood out: Bruce's close relationship with his mother, Meg. "I visit my mom at least twice a week," Bruce said, a fond smile on his face. "We've always been very close." "That's sweet," I replied. "I'm also very close to my mother. We see each other as often as we can." Bruce's eyes softened. "It's nice to hear that. Family is important." Our conversation deepened, and I felt a connection growing between us. By the end of the coffee date, I knew I wanted to see more of Bruce. He was thoughtful, kind, and we shared so many interests. As we said our goodbyes, I couldn't help but feel excited about what the future might hold. That chance meeting on the volleyball court had brought Bruce into my life, and I was eager to see where this unexpected journey would take us. A few months into our relationship, Bruce's birthday was coming up. I wanted to do something special for him, something that would show him how much he meant to me. So I decided to throw him a surprise party. I reached out to our friends for help, and they were all eager to pitch in. Knowing how close Bruce was to his mother, Meg, I made sure to invite her. However, I was unsure about inviting his father because Bruce never really talked about him. In the end, I decided against it, not wanting to bring any potential drama into Bruce's special day. The day of the party finally arrived. I left work early to set up Bruce's apartment with decorations, food, and a cake. Our friends arrived, and everyone was buzzing with excitement. A few minutes before Bruce was supposed to arrive, I noticed a middle-aged lady in a fancy green evening gown walk in. She carried a branded handbag and had an air of authority about her. "Hello, I'm Marilyn," I introduced myself, extending my hand. "You must be one of Bruce's close relatives. It's nice to meet you." "Oh, finally someone with some manners," she said, shaking my hand briefly. "I'm Meg, Bruce's mother, and yes, I'm the most important guest here. He's my son, you know." "Of course, Meg," I replied, trying to hide my surprise at her tone. "Bruce talks so fondly about you. Please, come in and make yourself comfortable." "Well, I should hope so," she said, walking past me. "I practically raised him all by myself. I hope you've done a decent job planning this party." "I've put in a lot of effort, and our friends have been a great help too," I said, trying to stay positive. "I hope you enjoy it." "We'll see about that," she muttered, looking around with a critical eye. "Just make sure you don't get in the way of my time with Bruce. He's my boy, after all." I swallowed my pride and smiled. "Of course, I wouldn't want to come between you two. Bruce cherishes his relationship with you, and I respect that." As the evening went on, Meg's critical comments continued. She loudly criticized the decorations and even insulted some of our friends. I did my best to stay calm and show her hospitality, hoping she would eventually warm up to me. Finally, I heard Bruce's car pull up outside. My heart raced with excitement. I quickly gathered everyone near the door, and when Bruce walked in, we all shouted, "Surprise!" Bruce's face lit up with joy. "Wow! This is amazing. Thank you all so much." He looked around the room, his eyes finally resting on me. "Marilyn, you did all this." I nodded, smiling. "With a little help from our friends. Happy birthday, Bruce." He walked over and pulled me into a hug. "Thank you. This means a lot to me." We cut the cake and handed out presents. Meg insisted on being next to Bruce in all the photos and declared that her gift was the best. Bruce didn't seem to mind her behavior and entertained all her requests, making sure she was always by his side. When it was time for dinner, everyone took their places at the dining table. Bruce stood up to make a toast. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my birthday. I have a very important announcement to make, and I'm glad you're all here to witness it." Before I could react, Bruce went down on one knee and pulled out a ring. "Marilyn, will you marry me?" I was overjoyed. Tears filled my eyes as I nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, Bruce, I will." Everyone cheered and congratulated us, but I noticed Meg got up and left the table. Concerned, I turned to Bruce. "Babe, your mom left the table. Is everything okay?" "We need to find her and get her blessing," Bruce said, looking worried. "She'll be mad if we don't." "But why do we need her blessing? This is our decision, isn't it?" Bruce sighed. "Babe, you don't understand. I always talk to my mom about important decisions. We're close, and I value her opinion. I get that she's important to you, but isn't this about us? Shouldn't we make decisions together?" "Of course we do, but I can't ignore her. She means a lot to me. Can we just go find her and talk to her about giving us her blessing?" I nodded, feeling a knot in my stomach. We searched the house and finally found Meg sitting silently in the backyard. We approached her, and Bruce gently said, "Mom, I'm sorry I didn't talk to you before proposing to Marilyn. It just happened in the moment, and I thought it was the perfect time." "Well, Bruce, you always discuss big decisions with me," Meg said, her voice cold. I felt left out this time. "I know, and I didn't mean to upset you. I had planned to talk to you tomorrow, but the surprise party changed everything. I understand that it was unexpected, but you should have found a way to talk to me before making such a significant decision." "You're right, Mom. I should have found a way. I just got caught up in the excitement, and Marilyn has been so amazing and supportive. I wanted to show her how much she means to me." Meg looked at me, her expression softening slightly. "I can see that you love her, Bruce. I just want you to remember to include me in your life, especially when it comes to important matters." "I promise, Mom. I'll work on communicating better with you. You're an essential part of my life, and I want you to be part of Marilyn's and my journey together." "That's all I ask for, dear," Meg said, finally giving us a small smile. Relieved, Bruce and I returned to the party, but I couldn't shake the feeling that winning Meg's approval was going to be more challenging than I had thought. Planning our wedding should have been a joyous time, but it turned out to be more stressful than I had imagined. Meg, Bruce's mother, seemed determined to control every detail. She had strong opinions about everything, from the color scheme to the guest list. Her constant interference made it difficult to enjoy the process. One afternoon, while Bruce was at work, Meg called me. "Marilyn, we need to talk about the wedding," she said, her tone brisk. "I have some ideas about the decorations." "Sure, Meg. What do you have in mind?" I replied, trying to sound positive. "Well, I think the colors you've chosen are too bright. A wedding should be more elegant. We should go with something more traditional," she suggested. "I understand your point, but Bruce and I really like these colors," I said gently. "We want our wedding to reflect our personalities." Meg sighed loudly. "You young people think you know everything. Trust me, traditional is better." I took a deep breath. "I appreciate your advice, Meg, but Bruce and I have made our decision. We're happy with our choices." She huffed but didn't push further. "Fine, but don't come crying to me when it doesn't look good." As the weeks went by, Meg's involvement only increased. She wanted to choose my wedding dress, suggesting gowns that were far from my taste. Each time I politely declined, she threw a tantrum. One day, I decided to stand my ground. Meg had called to arrange a meeting at a bridal boutique. When I arrived, she was already there, looking through racks of dresses. "Marilyn, I've found the perfect dress for you," she said, holding up a lacy, old-fashioned gown. "It's beautiful, Meg, but I've already chosen my dress," I said firmly. "What? Without consulting me?" she exclaimed, her eyes widening. "Yes, Bruce and I went together last weekend. It's something I've dreamed of since I was a little girl," I explained. Meg's face turned red. "This is unacceptable. I'm his mother. I should have a say in this. I understand you're upset, but this is our wedding. We need to make these decisions together," I said, trying to stay calm. Meg glared at me, her voice low and icy. "You'll regret shutting me out, Marilyn." Despite the tension, I didn't back down. The following days were filled with more arguments and passive-aggressive comments from Meg. She even told me I would be expected to pay more than half of the wedding expenses, claiming I was lucky to be marrying Bruce and needed to contribute. Feeling overwhelmed, I confided in Bruce one evening as we sat on the couch. "Bruce, your mom is making this so hard. She's trying to control everything," I said, tears welling up in my eyes. Bruce sighed and pulled me close. "I know, Marilyn. She's always been like this. But we need to stay strong and remember that this is our wedding, not hers." "I'm trying, but it's exhausting," I admitted. "I'll talk to her," Bruce promised. "We'll get through this together." On the day of the wedding, surrounded by my bridesmaids and my mother, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. I was getting dressed in my flowing white gown, feeling like a princess. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. To my shock, Meg walked in, wearing a white wedding dress. "Why are you wearing a wedding dress, Meg?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's my son's special day. I wanted to make a statement," she said defiantly. "But Meg, this is my wedding. You can't wear white," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm his mother. I can do whatever I want," she retorted. I was furious but decided not to cause a scene. I didn't want to ruin the day I had been dreaming of. The ceremony went smoothly, and Bruce and I exchanged vows and rings. It was emotional and beautiful, despite Meg's stunt. Later at the reception, I pulled Bruce aside. "Bruce, your mom showed up in a wedding dress. It's not right." "I'm sorry, Marilyn. I had no idea she would do that," Bruce said, looking embarrassed. "I know, but we can't let her keep doing this. We need to set boundaries," I said. "You're right. After today, things will change," Bruce promised. As the evening came to an end, I realized that while Meg might have tried to overshadow our day, She couldn't take away the love and joy Bruce and I shared. This was just the beginning of our journey, and together, we could handle anything that came our way. Bruce and I were excited to buy our first home together. We spent hours each day house hunting, eager to find the perfect place. It was a thrilling time, imagining our future in a new home. One day, Bruce couldn't make it to a viewing due to an important meeting, so I went alone. I had no idea how that day would change everything. I arrived at the house, a charming two-story with a lovely front yard. I was about to knock on the door when I heard a voice behind me. "Marilyn, wait up." It was Meg, striding towards me in a hurry. "Meg, what are you doing here?" I asked, trying to hide my surprise. I wanted to make sure the house is good enough for my son, and that it has a place for me when I visit, she replied, not bothering to ask if she could join. I sighed inwardly, knowing there was no avoiding this. "Okay, Meg, let's go in." The real estate agent greeted us and started the tour. As we walked through the rooms, Meg's critical comments began. "The kitchen is too small. How are you going to cook for a family in here?" she remarked. "I think it's cozy, and Bruce and I don't need a huge kitchen," I replied, trying to stay positive. We moved to the living room. "This carpet is hideous. You'll need to replace it," she said, wrinkling her nose. "I actually like it. It gives the room character," I said, determined not to let her ruin the experience. As we headed upstairs, I was about to step onto the landing when I felt a sharp kick to my right leg. I lost my balance and tumbled down the stairs. Pain shot through my body, and I lay there, dazed and bruised. Looking up, I saw Meg standing at the top of the stairs, a satisfied smile quickly replaced by a look of concern. "Oh my goodness, Marilyn. Are you okay?" she called out, rushing down the stairs. I couldn't believe what had just happened. I tried to move, but the pain was too intense. I think I need help," I managed to say, my voice weak. Meg quickly turned around and left, leaving me there. I struggled to find my phone and called an ambulance. As I waited, the reality of what had happened began to sink in. Meg had kicked me down the stairs. The thought was horrifying. At the hospital, doctors confirmed I had several bruises and a sprained wrist. Bruce arrived shortly after, his face full of worry. "Marilyn, what happened?" he asked, taking my hand gently. "Bruce, it was your mom. She kicked me down the stairs," I said, tears welling up in my eyes. "What? That's impossible. She wouldn't do that," Bruce replied, shaking his head in disbelief. "I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. She's been trying to control everything. And now this," I said, my voice breaking. Bruce looked torn. "Mom told me you were being aggressive, and that's why you fell. She wouldn't hurt you for no reason." "I'm not lying, Bruce. She deliberately hurt me," I insisted, struggling to maintain my composure. "You're just trying to cover up your actions," Bruce said coldly. "I can't believe you're accusing my mother of this." Feeling devastated, I began to cry. "Bruce, please believe me. She's manipulating you." "I need some time to think," he said, turning away. "I'll call you later." The days that followed were filled with pain and confusion. Bruce didn't come to see me, and his coldness cut deeper than my physical injuries. My parents visited, shocked by the situation. My father, sensing something wasn't right, suggested we look into Bruce's father, Albert. Following his advice, I hired a private investigator. What he discovered was shocking. Albert had been manipulated and mistreated by Meg, leading to their divorce. Albert confirmed my suspicions and warned me about Meg's true nature. He suggested a plan to confront them and protect myself. With Albert's help, I devised a strategy. I called Bruce, telling him I had a special gift for him and Meg, and asked them to visit me at the hospital. Reluctantly, they agreed. The confrontation. The next morning, Bruce and Meg arrived at the hospital, unaware of what awaited them. Albert and I were ready. I could see the tension in Bruce's eyes, but Meg seemed confident, even smug. Marilyn, what is this about? Bruce asked, his voice filled with concern and confusion. I wanted to clear the air, I said, looking directly at Meg. And I have someone here who can help us do that. Albert stepped forward, and Meg's face turned pale. Albert, what are you doing here? She asked, her voice trembling. I'm here to support Marilyn and to confront you, Meg, Albert said firmly. Your actions have hurt too many people. It's time for the truth. Truth? What truth? Bruce asked, looking between us. Bruce, your mother has been manipulating and hurting people for years. She even tried to hurt Marilyn, Albert said. That's a lie, Meg exclaimed. Marilyn is trying to turn you against me. No, Mom. It's true, I said, feeling a newfound strength. And Albert has proof. Albert handed Bruce a folder. As Bruce read through it, his face fell. Mom, how could you? He whispered. Meg's facade crumbled, and she started to cry. I just wanted what's best for you, Bruce. But you went too far, Bruce said, his voice filled with sadness. I can't trust you anymore. As security escorted Meg out, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Bruce turned to me, tears in his eyes. I'm so sorry, Marilyn. I should have believed you. It's okay, Bruce, I said, taking his hand. We can move forward from this, together. With May out of our lives, Bruce and I could finally focus on building a future based on trust and love. The ordeal had tested our relationship, but it also made us stronger. We were ready to face whatever challenges came our way, knowing we had each other's backs. After the incident at the house viewing, I was left feeling confused and hurt. Bruce's refusal to believe me was like a dagger to my heart. Despite the pain, I knew I had to uncover the truth about Meg and her manipulative ways. My father suggested looking into Bruce's father, Albert, to get some answers. It was time to seek the truth. I hired a private investigator, a kind but sharp man named Jack. He assured me that he would get to the bottom of things. A week later, Jack called me with some findings and set up a meeting. In a small, quiet cafe, Jack handed me a folder filled with documents and photographs. Marilyn, what I found is pretty shocking. Albert, Bruce's father, was pushed out of the family by Meg's manipulative actions. They divorced because Meg controlled everything, even to the point of isolating Albert from his own son. I felt a mix of relief and sadness. Thank you, Jack. This information means a lot to me. There's more, Jack continued. Albert is willing to meet with you. He wants to help. The next day, I nervously arrived at Albert's house. He greeted me warmly, his kind eyes a mirror of Bruce's. We sat in his cozy living room, the scent of fresh coffee filling the air. Thank you for meeting with me, Albert, I began. I didn't know who else to turn to. Marilyn, I'm glad you reached out, Albert said, his voice gentle but firm. I've seen firsthand how Meg can manipulate people. She's done it to Bruce for years. I want to help you, and him, see the truth. Bruce doesn't believe me, I admitted, tears welling up in my eyes. He thinks I'm lying about what happened. Albert sighed deeply. Bruce has always wanted to see the best in his mother. It's hard for him to accept that she's not who he thinks she is. But he needs to know the truth. We need to confront them together. We devised a plan to confront Meg and Bruce at the hospital. Albert would present the evidence, and I hoped that Bruce would finally see the truth. The confrontation. The next morning, Bruce and Meg arrived at the hospital, looking confused and wary. Albert and I were waiting for them. I could see the tension in Bruce's eyes, but Meg seemed confident, even smug. Marilyn, what is this about? Bruce asked, his voice filled with concern. I wanted to clear the air, I said, looking directly at Meg. And I have someone here who can help us do that. Albert stepped forward, and Meg's face turned pale. Albert, what are you doing here? She asked, her voice trembling. I'm here to support Marilyn and to confront you, Meg, Albert said firmly. Your actions have hurt too many people. It's time for the truth. Truth. What truth? Bruce asked, looking between us. Bruce, your mother has been manipulating and hurting people for years. She even tried to hurt Marilyn, Albert said, his voice steady. That's a lie, Meg exclaimed. Marilyn is trying to turn you against me. No, Mom. It's true, I said, feeling a newfound strength. And Albert has proof. Albert handed Bruce the folder. As Bruce read through it, his face fell. Mom, how could you? He whispered, his voice breaking. Meg's facade crumbled, and she started to cry. I just wanted what's best for you, Bruce. But you went too far, Bruce said, his voice filled with sadness. I can't trust you anymore. Albert stepped closer to Bruce. Son, it's time to see things as they are. Marilyn has been through a lot because of Meg. We need to make things right. Bruce looked at me, tears in his eyes. I'm so sorry, Marilyn. I should have believed you. It's okay, Bruce, I said, taking his hand. We can move forward from this. Together. With Meg's manipulations exposed, Bruce and I could finally focus on healing and building a future based on trust and love. Albert's support was a blessing, and I knew that we could face any challenge together. The truth had set us free, and with it, we could finally move forward. With Meg's manipulations behind us, Bruce and I finally felt free to start our new life together. It wasn't easy at first. The emotional scars left by the ordeal took time to heal. But with each passing day, our love and commitment to each other grew stronger. We decided to take things one step at a time, beginning with finding our dream home. We resumed house hunting, this time with a renewed sense of purpose. Without Meg's interference, the process felt exciting and full of hope. One sunny Saturday, we found a charming house on the outskirts of town. It had a lovely garden, a cozy living room, and enough space to grow our family. What do you think, Marilyn? Bruce asked as we walked through the house hand in hand. It's perfect, I said, smiling. I can already picture us here, building our future. Bruce grinned and pulled me into a hug. Then let's make it ours. After a few weeks of negotiations and paperwork, the house was finally ours. Moving in was an adventure, with friends and family helping us settle into our new home. The first night we spent there felt magical, like the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. As we sat on the couch, surrounded by unpacked boxes, Bruce turned to me. I want to apologize again for everything that happened. I should have seen what my mother was doing. Bruce, we've been through this, I said gently. What's important is that we're here now together. We've learned and grown from it. He nodded, his eyes full of love. You're right. I just want to make sure I never let you down again. You won't, I assured him. We've got each other, and that's all that matters. In the following months, we settled into our new home and new routines. Bruce and I made it a point to communicate openly, ensuring that our relationship remained strong. We also spent more time with Albert, grateful for his support and wisdom. One evening, over dinner at our place, Albert shared some heartfelt words. I'm proud of both of you. It takes a lot of strength to overcome what you've been through. You're building a wonderful life together. Thank you, Dad, Bruce said, his voice filled with emotion. We couldn't have done it without you. Albert smiled. I'm just glad I could help. Family is everything, and I'm grateful we have each other. As time went on, Bruce and I found new ways to give back and create something positive from our experience. We started a foundation to help people dealing with toxic relationships and manipulative family members. Our goal was to provide support and resources for those who needed it, just as we had needed support during our darkest times. The foundation quickly gained traction, and we received messages from people thanking us for the difference we were making in their lives. It was incredibly fulfilling, knowing that our journey could inspire and help others. One afternoon, while sorting through letters at the foundation's office, Bruce looked up at me. You know, I never imagined our lives would turn out like this. We've come so far. We really have. I agreed, feeling the deep sense of gratitude. It's amazing what we can achieve when we stand together. Bruce reached across the table and took my hand. Here's to our new beginning, Marilyn, and to many more adventures ahead. To our new beginning, I echoed, smiling, and to facing whatever comes our way together. With each passing day, we grew more certain that our past struggles had only made us stronger. Our love, built on trust and mutual respect, was unshakable. As we looked forward to the future, we knew that no matter what challenges we faced, we would always have each other, and that was enough.